Clients are coming to me in the most dire of circumstances. Their life and liberty is at stake. When clients come in and you see the fear and you see the anxiety and the nervousness of the situation they're in, I love it when at the end of these meetings, I'm able to ask the clients, do you feel better now? And have them say, yes, I feel so much better. One of the things that I want to do is I want to understand what is it that we're dealing with. I want to know where they're at in the process. I want to have a face-to-face dialogue with them. I want to hear their story. I want to know about them, because if I'm going to be fighting for this person, I want to know, what do I have to work with that can benefit the client at the end of the day? I had, for instance, a client who was charged with Medicare fraud. Sitting down with her and going through the evidence to identify what documents they had to connect her to the alleged fraudulent activity was important, because immediately we were able to identify that, wait a second, this is not her signature on some of these documents. The case was brought against her predominantly on the fact that the government thought that she was signing these documents that contained all these fraudulent representations.
A lot of lawyers just come in and they take over and they say, this is the way it's going to be. They don't listen to the client. They don't listen to the evidence. But Brent paid attention to our investigation.
Once the clients have retained me, the next phase of the case is making that initial appearance, whether it's walking into the court for the first time and calling a prosecutor up and sensing that trepidation in their voice, because they're thinking to themselves, oh man, this is a really good attorney that I'm going to have to be dealing with here. Appearance in a case is always an important one. I want to come in strong. I want to come in confident. I want the prosecutors and judges to see that I'm prepared to defend my client.
Clients feel comfortable with Brent because he takes the time to break down their accusations, the state's evidence, and makes it understandable to them, gives them an excellent projection for what needs to be done, what he intends to do, and then does it.
Once I've made my initial appearance, then we go into the investigation phase, and that's going to involve lots of different elements. To run a good defense, you have to know what the offense is, and so we have to see what is the evidence that the prosecution has. Figuring out what else do we need to identify, what witnesses do we need to talk to, and that's where the rest of the team at the firm comes into play. By sitting down with her and going through each document one by one and recalling, well, what happened with this patient and what happened with this patient and what were you doing at this time? The picture became very clear. This wasn't her. This was someone else who was forging her signature onto many of these documents. And that's ultimately what we were able to do by then getting an expert to come in and confirm that's not her signature. Having been a prosecutor and tried so many cases, I've seen and I've known what strategies prosecutors can use to get convictions. I've seen and know what works and what doesn't work. And so I'm taking that knowledge and applying them in my own practice as a defense attorney to be able to say, this is a problem and this is how we're going to defeat this.
Being a good criminal defense attorney, you have to be a good storyteller. You have to find the story and then learn how to communicate the story. And if you can't tell the story, then you can't represent your client.
I love telling clients, if you're not sleeping at night, I'm not doing my job. I want clients to know that if they have a question, if they have a concern, if there's something that they're anxious about, they can reach out to me, not an associate, not a legal assistant. They can reach out to me directly so I can put that fear, that anxiety, that concern to rest immediately. And by being able to give that client that level of comfort is a really great foundation for then what's going to continue on from that point forward with the handling of the case. Taking that and presenting it to the prosecutors is what ultimately convinced them to grant the golden goose in criminal cases, which is a dismissal.